As NHL teams prepare to finish the last week of NHL training camps and jump into the regular season, there's already some teams dealing with some pretty significant injuries. We'll discuss all that and how it'll impact those teams coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top here, we have some NHL teams that are dealing with some pretty significant injuries already. Obviously, as we enter the last week of the preseason and NHL training camps as they prepare to open their 18-19 campaigns, some of these teams are already hurting with some pretty significant players on the injury list. Some of these injuries are more severe than others, but let's jump in and take a look at what's happening around the NHL. The Arizona Coyotes will be without newly acquired center iceman Alex Galchenyuk to open the NHL season. That injury doesn't appear to be too serious, but it looks as though he will be out for a couple of weeks and probably miss at least the first handful of games for the Coyotes. It's really unfortunate because obviously Galchenyuk was looking for a fresh start here after the trade from the Montreal Canadiens, and before the injury, it looked like to be having a pretty decent training camp and NHL preseason here. So Galchenyuk won't be out for too long, but he will be out for a couple of weeks and miss the opening of the NHL season for the Arizona Coyotes. Now another guy that's going to be out of the lineup here, and he may not be ready for opening night, but it's not necessarily due to an injury, is Devante Pelly of the Washington Capitals. Now DSP had a tremendous Stanley Cup playoff run last year for the Caps, helping them win the Stanley Cup. Ultimately was re-signed by the Capitals, but originally, even though he was an RFA, he was not qualified right away, so he didn't get a qualifying offer. He became a UFA because of that, and eventually did sign a new one-year deal with the Washington Capitals. It was indicated and reported, and I even heard comments from DSP himself indicating that he had offers for an extra year, like a 2-year deals on the table from other clubs around similar, if not slightly more money. But he turned those deals down to be able to stay with the Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals, even though the 2-year deal would have given him a little bit more stability. But obviously, as we know, the Washington Capitals had a tremendous offseason and lots of fun. You know, obviously the partying continued on for a big part of the summer. We saw many events and occasions with Ovechkin and a lot of the other guys in the Capitals having a great old time celebrating the Stanley Cup, and I fully applaud the right to do that. It's a lot of hard work to win the Stanley Cup. But at some point, though, you have to be able to get back to training and getting yourself ready for the 18-19 season. Now, DSP basically has been benched by the coaching staff due to being out of shape. He didn't show up at training camp in nearly as conditioned as he should have been. And at this point, he's being held out of the lineup until things improve. Basically, it's a coach's decision. I don't think he was out of shape bad enough that he would have failed any physicals or really been, you know, like a material breach like we saw with Jake Dotchin in Tampa, where he was reported to have gained 30 pounds. I don't think this is a case of being so extreme as that one is, but still, this is not the first time in Smith Pelly's career where he's been called out for having conditioning issues. I know, even though it wasn't reported on quite a lot in the media, there was reports when he was in Montreal that was part of the issue, why things didn't really work out for him as well in that team. So obviously, he's got a little bit of a history for not keeping himself in the greatest condition, probably being a little bit lazy when it comes to the off-ice conditioning. Smith Pelly really had an opportunity, in my opinion, to go into this season and really elevate his game and get himself a longer-term contract, get himself some more job stability for his own personal career, and really become a driving force for that Capitals team like he showed he could be in the playoffs. So it's really disappointing for Capitals fans, I'm sure. You know, you expect more from your players to look after themselves, and this is really, like, I guess, a true indication of a Stanley Cup hangover, if you will. It's really unfortunate this has come to be, but it's hard to say exactly when DSP will get into the Capitals lineup. Once he's, I guess, in better shape and the coaching staff has more faith in his conditioning, they'll insert him in the lineup here. It's not quite clear if he'll get a preseason game or not before the NHL regular season opens. If he doesn't, wouldn't be surprised if he's a healthy scratch by the Capitals here for the first little bit until they feel like he's in game shape. Now, one other quick note here that I'm not sure if it'll impact his standing with the roster or not, but Jori Lehtera is facing some pretty serious allegations. There's a police investigation going on in Finland due to a cocaine drug ring, and at this point, he's been basically he's considered to be a suspect in that. Now, he's pleaded that he has nothing to do with it. He's pleading his innocence. At this point, the Philadelphia Flyers have only made one statement, and it was very brief from Ron Hextall, indicating that they've talked to the player about it and they've spoken with the league about it as well to kind of seek some guidance. But at this point, these allegations are very, very serious, and it's not quite clear if this is going to impact his playing future or what could he possibly end up suspended until the investigation is complete. I mean, obviously we've seen other cases with other legal type issues, whether it's domestic abuse or domestic assault or, anything else drug related in the past, where players quite often end up suspended until they can kind of clear their name, so to speak. So it doesn't always happen. Like we saw a case like the Patrick Kane example was handled differently. So not really clear how this is going to play out as far as whether or not he can continue playing or if it will have any impact, like I said, on his standing with the team or ability to appear for the Flyers. I know there were some people calling for the fact that he should be either suspended or demoted, at least until his name is cleared. But at this point, Jori Lehtera is really not a high-end player for the Flyers. He's kind of battling for a bottom six role, like a fourth line type of player. So he very well could end up, potentially being put through waivers anyways because of his play. It had nothing to do with the legal issues. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Lehtera, but he's facing some pretty serious allegations, and I guess we'll see what happens as we get further updates here from the league or from police reports based on the investigation. The Columbus Blue Jackets will be without their top defenseman, Seth Jones, for about 4 to 6 weeks due to a knee strain, which is obviously, it could be much worse here for sure, but still to start the year without your top defenseman is certainly not good. And obviously, as we know, Jones and his partner, Zach Werenski, make up one of the top D pairs in the NHL. And Werenski's had some ailments too throughout the preseason. So obviously starting the year with Werenski possibly having some ailments and Jones being out longer term here is certainly not a good start to the year. Hopefully with Jones, it doesn't take too long and he's able to get back within the specified time, if not sooner. But obviously with everything going on in Columbus to start the year, there's a lot of question marks here around the futures of guys like Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky. And now you've got some injuries to deal with. They did extend Coach John Tortorella as well during this offseason, so he should be safe in his position. But there's a lot of question marks around this Blue Jackets team, and even though they look really good on paper, you can't help but wonder if a lot of these issues could potentially become distractions and impact how this team performs this year. Now, the most significant injury of all these reports here is Corey Perry, who had to have surgery on his knee due to a torn meniscus and MCL injury. He's expected to be out for approximately 5 months. Now, we were told through reports from the Ducks here that this happened during Monday night warm-ups in the preseason game. It does seem a little bit odd to me how you could have such a significant, severe injury happen in warm-ups. I'm not going to say that obviously that they're not telling the truth. I have no reason to believe that. Either way, Corey Perry is expected to be out of the lineup for about 5 months. Now, the Ducks are another team who I've kind of been talking about here during the offseason that I'm kind of concerned about going into the 18-19 season. It's already unclear right now where Ryan Kesler is going to play. He looks like he could be out till at least sometime in November is kind of what I'm hearing. It's not quite clear if Patrick Eaves is ready to come back. Looks like they're both, Kesler and Eaves are both kind of getting closer, but I don't think they're going to be there to start the season. So they're used to not having Eaves because he was out so long before. But still, without Eaves, without Kesler, now you throw in Corey Perry into the mix here. You don't have Nick Ritchie signed. So there's 4 forwards that you're really starting the year without. So obviously, I do have a lot of concerns over the durability and the health of this Ducks team. And they really could end up taking a step back because of it. Only time will tell if their younger players can really step in. Guys like Sam Steele and Troy Terry and maybe even Maxime Comtois might be given more opportunity here to make this club and can be given bigger roles than they may have otherwise due to the roster spots available here up for grabs. So we'll see how this goes, but I do have some concerns for the Ducks, obviously going into this year. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section on these injuries and other situations. How will these teams be able to handle it, and how much impact will it have on their potential season here that's getting underway here in less than a week's time? If you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button as well. I'd really appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.